Happy Saturday, guys. Come on in. Let's talk. It's our day to get in the Word to find out what's on the heart of God concerning you and I. For all the mothers, happy belated Mother's Day. You know, I want to challenge you. I'm going to give you another challenge as it relates to the thought of today, as you've seen already, the exposure challenge. But now, I want to give you another challenge. Celebrate the ones you love while you have a chance. You know, we don't have to wait till Mother's Day. We don't have to wait till Father's Day. We don't have to wait till a birthday. We don't have to wait till Christmas to celebrate somebody. We already know tomorrow is not promised. So while you have a chance, while you have an opportunity, make the phone call, pick up your phone, text somebody, go and buy a card, go and buy a gift, get that person's address, connect with them and tell them you want to take them out just to say thank you, just to say I appreciate you, just to say I love you, just to say I was thinking about you, just to say, you know what, where I am today, you had a hand and a part in that. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate all that you said, all that you've done, all that you've been in my life to help me to get where I am, to help me to get to where I am today. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. Do it today. Do it now. You know, you have a few more days in the month of May. We celebrated Mother's Day. There may be a mother that you said Happy Mother's Day to just through text. But you need to tell them a little deeper how much you love them or appreciate them or value the gift that they are in your life, the gift that they are to your family, the gift that they've been to, once again, help you get to where you are. And sometimes that don't mean that they brought you something. They didn't buy you the house. They didn't buy you the car. So it's none of that, but the words they sowed, the correction that you didn't like back when they gave it to you, but you realize today, you know, as most of us do that are adults, you know, the things that your parents used to tell you back when you were your children's age. It's like, oh my God, they get on my nerves. They don't let me do nothing. But now that you are a parent and you realize the trouble that's out there, now you're telling your children the same thing. Now you could appreciate the pause and the hold that your parents tried to put on you, didn't let you go to the parties, didn't let you stay out to all types of the night, didn't let you hang around that person that you just so loved, and now that person is in the grave, or now that person is strung out on drugs, or now that person is in jail, and that was your buddy. And had your parent not stopped you, had your parent not pulled you back, had your parent not said, no, you can't go, you may be right where that person is today. So that is a challenge. Pick a day, pick a person. Matter of fact, do it every month. Every month. I mean, I would tell you to do it every week if you got it like that. I mean, you don't have to do anything big. Make it a weekly thing. Make it a weekly thing. Make it a monthly thing. Whatever you can do. Do something. People don't know what's in your mind unless you say it from your mouth. People don't know what's in your heart unless you say it through your mouth. Sometimes actions, you know, you ever got something from somebody and you know they were just doing it to try to make you think that they cared, make you think that they was happy for you, but on the other end of them giving you that gift, there was a hardened heart or bitterness or jealousy. I've been there. I've had some people to gift me stuff and I knew, you don't mean this. You don't mean this. Because the way you act outside of you presenting me this gift lets me know that you feel some sort of way or some type of way about me. And it's okay, because I don't care. But that's the first challenge. Here's the other challenge according to today's topic, the exposure challenge. Now I know you like, wait a minute, you trying to get in my closet? You trying to see what I'm doing privately, secretly, that I know I should not be doing? You trying to get in my business? No, I'm not ready. Lord, don't expose me. Let's not talk about exposure, because I got some things that are hidden. I have some things that if anybody ever found out and knows the truth about who I am and what I do and how I really handle myself outside of, you know, what they see, what I want them to see. I don't want them to know the truth about me, but we're not talking about that type of exposure. But if you're worried about that, you need to do something about that. Because we talked about this in another Saturday. God is only going to give us but so many chances and opportunities before he lifts his hands and uncovers what you've been doing in the cup. what you got in your cup, God is like, okay, I'm being this lid because I'm giving you another opportunity to repent. I'm giving you a chance to get it right. Okay, I lifted my lid up. I lifted my hand up. I lifted my grace up a little bit and allow a few people to see, and you apologized and you cried, and, everybody forgave you, and then you filled that cup right back up again with that sin and that thing that you were doing. And so how much longer do you think I'm gonna wait? Like, there's a world out there that needs what I put inside of you, but you filling it up with all this other junk. So now I have to lift, now I have to remove my hand and expose you to the world. So if that's you need to deal with that. But the type of exposure I'm talking about is the thing that you don't think that you are worth. The things that you think you'll never be able to achieve. I'll never be able to have it because. What is the rest of that sentence for you? I'll never have it because you fill that in. I'll never be able to do that because you fill it in. I'll never be able to go there because you fill in that blank. We're talking about the exposure challenge. It's time for us to start getting around some things that we want to be, getting around some things that we want to have, getting around some people that are doing what we want to do, what God has called us to do on a great level. They have integrity. They have clean hands. They have pure hearts. They're doing what God has told them to do in the light, in the avenue, in the way God has told them to do it. Nothing messy about it. Nothing, none of that. I need to get around them to get exposed to what I am going to become. What is exposure? I love this definition. It says disclosure of something secret. But the thing is, it's not a secret because it's something we're trying to hide. Sometimes the secret is because we have not been exposed to it. So it sits in our mind, the great thing that God has told us, the great thing that he has said. It sits in our mind, and the thing is greater than what we could imagine, greater than what we could see, greater than what we think we could achieve. God, how am I going to do that? That just seems impossible. That just seems big. I've never done it. I don't even know where to start, God. And so that big thing, that big idea, that big dream, that big goals, it sits in our mind, and it toils and it wrestles, and it goes boom, boom, like a ping pong, back and forth, and that sometimes it just say, stop! It's just too much. Lord, remove it from my mind. I don't want it no more. God, take the desire away from me. It's too much for me to even think about. But wait a minute. I need you to get that thing back on your mind. Yes, it's big. Yes, it's great. Yes, it's too much for you to do, but too much for you to do in your own power and in your own strength, which is why Philippians tells us we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And many times we're trying to do the big thing, the great thing on our own. But you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. And God no longer wants it to be a secret. He no longer wants it to be a secret, not because you hid it, but because you're not around it to see the truth of that big thing, that great thing. Yes, it's big and it's great, but nothing is impossible for your God. Nothing is too big for your God. And that's how we do it. That's who we pull alongside of us, to help us, to lead us, to guide us, to instruct us, to give us the wisdom and the revelation on how to bite this thing down, how to chew this thing down, how to break this thing down piece by piece. We're not just going to jump into it, and that would be awesome. But then when things happen, how would you know how to go back and correct it if you did not go through the process? So the Lord no longer wants that big thing, that big dream, that big goal, what he has spoken, what he has said, what he has showed you. He no longer wants it to be a secret. He wants you to get around it. When we think of exposure, there's some words that come to my mind: reveal, uncover, discover, and unmask. You know, like some of y'all could not wait to take off your mask. Some of y'all who got the vaccine and some of y'all who didn't, that's just taking advantage of being able to breathe. I can breathe now because I hate that mask. Oh, shut up. Unmask. Those are all the words that put me in mind of exposure. Reveal, uncover, discover, unmask. What does exposure do? It connects you to or brings you in contact with what you didn't know, what you didn't believe, or what you didn't see. Exposure. It connects me to or brings me in contact to something I did not know, something I didn't believe, something I didn't see. But if we reverse that, if we get around the thing that seems impossible, if we get around the thing that seems like I'll never be able to, I'll never be able to do that, you just may see, and because you see it, you'll believe it. And because you believe it, you'll know, I can have this. I can have this. Remember, exposure connects us to or brings us in contact with what we did not know, what we did not believe, what we did not see. But if I get around it to see it, then I'll believe it and I'll know I can have this. Why? Because God said that I can have it, especially if it's something that he said, something that he has spoken over you. Numbers 13, 1 through 2. We're going to skip around this because it's the story of Moses. The Lord told him, I need you to send spies into the land of Canaan. Send spies into the land of Canaan. This is the land that I am giving you. You know, like many of us, God has given us a promise. God has given us a word. And now he's saying, I need you to get around it so that you can see that this thing is possible. I need you to get around it to see, because when you see, there's something about seeing that makes you believe a little more. That's why we walk by faith and not by sight. Because when I walk by faith and I begin to see what I have faith for, it helps me to believe. It increases my belief even more to know, wait a minute. I didn't see this thing and I believed God for it. I believed his word. I trusted him and now I'm seeing it. Wait a minute. What else can I believe for? What else can I have faith for that God will bring into my path? That will connect me. He will connect me with. He will align me with. So the Lord said, Moses, I need you to send spies into the land of Canaan. This is the land that I'm giving you, the land flowing with milk and honey. Do you believe that God has made that promise to you too? There is a land flowing with milk and honey that he has promised us. Have you seen it? Have you been exposed to it? Do you know what's behind those doors? No, you may not know how it's going to unfold, but do you have a sense of, I see it. I see that thing. I see what God has said. And I'm not blocking it out of my mind, because when I see it, it's like it's a startling. Sometimes it can be startling because it is so big. It does seem like it's impossible. But no, I'm going to keep that thing right there. I'm going to keep that thing right there. Now, Father, give me the tools. Give me the wisdom. Give me, Lord, the knowledge to know what to do, where to go, when to go, who to align myself with. God, give me discernment to know what, at what time, the timing, your timing. God, what I need to pull alongside of me, what I need to stay away from, because it does not agree. This does not connect. It's trying to attach itself to me, but it doesn't connect. There's a difference between something that attaches to you and something that connects to you. That's for another Saturday. But we're going to go down to Numbers 13, 26 through 28. Because we already know the Lord told Moses, send spies out into the land that I've given you, flowing with milk and honey. Send the spies out so they can come back with a report. And I want you to know the report that these spies came back with. Verse 26 says, the men went back to Moses, Aaron, and the entire Israelite community in the wilderness. They brought back a report for them and the whole community, and they showed them the fruit of the land. So they went, the spies went, they saw what God had said. This is the land flowing with milk and honey that I'm giving to you. Go and spy. The spies came back with fruit. So the fruit was a witness that what God said, yes, it's over there. Where he's sending us, the fruit is there. But listen to the rest. However, now we've seen the fruit. Here's the fruit. Here's the manifestation of the fruit. However, here's the naysayers. The people living in the land are strong and the cities are large and fortified. We have the fruit, but the promise, but God, there's some big people over there. See, because we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight when we get over there to possess what God has said that we could have. What he said we could have is there, but what we have to go through is too big. What we have to go through, the magnitude of it, oh my God, the pain, we may get defeated. We may get beat down. We may get slaughtered. Now, he promised it to us. Now, think about this. When God promises us something, why do we focus more on the problem than the promise? He gave them the promise. They went and brought back a witness of the promise. But that wasn't enough. See, this is why we have to walk by faith and not by sight. Because sometimes even when we see it in the natural, we don't believe it. Because it still seems impossible. It still seems like I see it, but there's always a but. There's always a but. When God promises you something, he's showing you the end. But trust that in the process of getting to that thing, he said he will never leave you nor forsake you. He said greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So that means because he's in me, whatever I have to go through in the process of getting to the promise, he's greater. He's greater so long as I don't leave him out. So long as I welcome him in to lead me through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear. Why? Because he's with me and he has not given me the spirit of fear. When we read down in verse 30, it says, then Caleb quieted the people in the presence of Moses and said, let's go up now and take possession of the land because we can do this thing. Okay, God has promised this to us. Now you came back with the witness. You told me the problem, but you know what? The promise is bigger than the problem. So Caleb is like, come on, let's go do this. And here you go, the naysayers. But the men who had gone up with him responded, we can't attack the people because they are stronger than we. There's sometimes you're sending spies into the land. You're sending spies. You're telling somebody what God has told you. You're revealing and exposing to them what God has shown you. And because their viewpoint is small, because their faith is small, because they can't see, because God did not promise it to them, and we talked about it last week, they're like, make it make sense. And you've gotten to a point where you're like, no, I don't want to make it make sense. I want to make it build my faith. So I want to trust God with what he has told me, even though this thing seems impossible. And so you have exposed it to them and they're saying, but wait a minute. You can't do that. But wait a minute. You dropped out of school. But wait a minute. You don't even have no money. You asking me to help you to pay your bills. But wait a minute. That thing is too big for you. But wait a minute. Remember when your mother did it? Remember when your father did it? But wait a minute. I tried it and it didn't work. And I knew the right people. I had all the finances. I had the education to back me up. Now you've exposed it to them and you're allowing their viewpoint of the problem to discourage you from moving forth to have what God said, which is the promise. So here is the exposure challenge. I want you to make a list of everything. Let's start out with one thing, because sometimes the list itself can be the whole, oh God, this is impossible. I want you to get one thing. I want you to write it down. One thing that God has told you. One thing that you have been believing for, one thing that you have in your mind, a dream, a goal, and it just seems too big. But every now and then when you try to put it out in your mind, it's like the Lord keeps putting it on your mind. Every time you say, you know what, I'm going to forget that. I'm just going to do something else. It's somehow you keep coming into contact with it. Somehow you keep connecting with that thing. People are talking about it. You look at the TV and a commercial comes on and it continues to remind you of the thing that you're trying to put out of your mind because it seems too big. That thing I want you to write down. After you write it down, I need you to find out who you can get around, where you can go to be exposed to it so that you can see, as we said earlier. Because when you see it in the natural, for some reason, it will build your faith to believe. And when you believe, then you'll know this is a God thing. And if God gave it to me, it's not too big for him. It's not too hard for him. It's too big for me. It's too hard for me. But that's why I need him to help me. That's why I need him to guide me. That's why I need him, period. Because I can't do this thing on my own. But his word promised that through him, I can do all things. There's nothing impossible, nothing too difficult. If it's a phone call, if you need to, some of you need to fly into another city, another state to get around that thing. If it's for one day, if you have to go by yourself, if you take somebody with you, make sure that they are in agreement. Make sure that they know how to hear from God. Make sure that they're not just going along for the trip, going along for the ride, going along and then they see it. And because it's too big for them to comprehend and imagine, they talk you out of it. Don't take that person. Some of you need to go alone. Some of you need to take someone who walks by faith. Someone who has a spirit of faith. Whose faith, they walk in excellence, believing that thing that seems impossible in their own life. So when they get around you and now you're faced with that thing and it now wants to take the breath out of you because, oh my goodness, now seeing it puts a whole nother pressure and weight. They're there to remind you nothing's too big for your God. Nothing's too hard for your God. Did you call yourself to this or did God call you to it? The exposure challenge. I need you between now and the month of June. So you have the whole month of June and the rest of this month. I need you to plan it. First, I need you to write it down. Get it out your head. Get it out your mind. Get it on paper. Write the vision and make it plain is what Habakkuk tells us. Get it on paper so that you can see that thing. So that you can see it. Then I need you to believe, pray over it. Prepare, find out where it is, find out who you need to connect to. It may be a phone call that you need to make to somebody that you look at and it's like, oh, but they too big. Oh, they'll never answer my call. Oh, they'll never answer my DM. Oh, they'll never answer my text. Oh my goodness, if I email them, they'll never respond. Oh my good, do it. Do it. Some of you need to find out where it's located, what city and what state. Find the cheapest flight, even if you just have to go overnight. I don't have the money to fly and stay in hotel. Okay, well, make it overnight to where your time is spent that day doing and searching and getting around that thing. And then guess what? You go right back to the airport. So you flying right back out. You may have to sit in the airport 5, 6, 7 hours. But you would have gotten exposure, gotten around that thing to see it, to believe it, to know that it's too big for you, but not too big for your God. This is what exposure does. 4 things. It challenges your current. It makes you ask yourself the whys of where you are. Most of us, some of us are where we are. We believe how we believe. We think how we think. And when you ask yourself why, you may not even know, or it may be connected to someone else's problem. So it challenges your current. The second thing, it expands your thinking. It opens your mind. You know, as a self-taught designer, there's things in outfits that I see that's like, wow, that's really complicated. I'll never be able to do that. And then I'll go on YouTube and watch a tutorial of somebody taking the time to break it down. And suddenly my mind is open to say, this thing looked impossible. But now because I've gotten around it, now because I've taken time to research it and I see the breakdown, I've been doing step 1 through 5 all along with all my other projects. It's just step 6, 7, and 8. It's just 3 additional steps where I've been looking at it and it seems like it's a whole new world. And so it expands your thinking. 3, it upsets your belief. Exposure, it upsets your belief. It reveals the truth. Once you know the truth, you become responsible. You can't blame nobody for what you don't have and why you can't do it and why you can't get it. It upsets your belief. Because now, if your belief says I can't, if your belief says never, if your belief says nope, if your belief says probably not, when you get around it and you see, when you're exposed to it and you see like this thing is not that big, this thing is not complicated, it just takes a little discipline. It'll upset what you have believed all along, where you cannot move from that place and continue to believe like you used to believe without there being unsettling in your spirit. Because yourself is saying no, but your spirit is saying you was around it and you seen it. It ain't impossible. It ain't difficult. And now you go back and forth with that. And the fourth thing, it changes your behavior. It changes how you act. It changes what you do. It changes your desires. And when your desires change, you begin to talk different. You begin to think different. You begin to walk different. Your desires change. I don't shoot low anymore. Now I shoot high. I don't look low for what God said. I'm either looking at eye level or I'm looking above. So exposure, what is the four things it does? It challenges your current, it expands your thinking, it upsets your belief, and it changes your behavior. The exposure challenge is on. Time is ticking. Some of us, the problem is not that it's too big, it's just that we have not been around it to see that it is something that you're capable of doing, something that you're capable of having. Wow, this thing is not, I've been thinking this thing was millions of dollars. You mean I can do X, Y, and Z and then wait for a sale and then get, oh my goodness, wait a minute. I believe that I can have what God said that I can have. And I've been learning in this season of Glow Up that because I am a child of God, he said there's no good thing that he will withhold from them that walk upright before him. I'm walking upright. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do according to the word, according to his will and his desire for my life. Why, Tisha, do you keep looking low for what God said? Why do you keep shooting low? Well, I know you said this, God, but I'll settle for this. And in this glow up season, he began to deal with me because you keep calling me the God of more than enough, but then you settle for just enough. Am I big or am I not big? Can I do it or can I not do it? Do you trust me or don't you trust me? Those are the questions that God is asking me. That is the questions that I'm asking you, not me. Is it too big for God? Do you trust him? Do you believe? The exposure challenge. Get out there, research it, get around it so you can see, I can have this thing. I can be this. I can walk in it. And when you get it, don't forget that God has to remain at the center of it at all times. At all times. As you ask yourself, as we said, it challenges your thinking, it opens your mind, it challenges your current, making you ask yourself, why do I think like this? Why is this how I see? Why do I always shoot low? Make sure after you get all that together that your why then becomes God. Your why then comes, he said, the why then becomes, when I do this, when I have this, I want people to see that it's only because of God. It's only because of him. The exposure challenge is on. Time is ticking. Go for it. And you know what? When you do it, please inbox me, text me, call me, comment on this video. Let me know that you did it. There's some things that I'm doing, some things that I'm exposing myself to. And you know what? There's some people that are holding me accountable because I just happen to open my mouth and say it around them. I got my text this week. Okay, did you go? What did you find out what you were supposed to? Yes, ma'am, I did. I know what it is. I know the make. I know the model. I know. So make sure that you have somebody also that can hold you accountable, that is going to help to challenge you in that area when the reality of it tries to take your breath away. Because sometimes the closer you get to it, is the more it's like, oh my goodness, I'm about to walk into that. You need that person right alongside you. That's, go ahead, you got this. I'm watching you. You got this. Go ahead, do it. You can have it. I believe in you. The exposure challenge is on. Until next Saturday, continue to laugh, love, breathe, and live. Jesus loves you, and I do. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday.